What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Richard Prophet, and tonight is going to be a real estate video. This is going to be a real estate video. We're going to talk real estate. There's no tickets to buy. There's no seminars to go to. There's no programs to download. I'm not selling you anything. I'm giving you the game. I'm giving you experience in the real estate industry. So sit back. And, tonight's going to be a good one, especially if you're in real estate. No fluff. You're going to get the real story from a real estate investor. It's not all fun and games. So let's get into my intro and we'll get right into it. The dark side of real estate. Cheers, family. What's up, family? Welcome back. I'm your host, Richard Prophet, and you are tuned into the Prophet, Rolex, and Real Estate channel. So tonight we're talking real estate. This is going to be a real estate video. When you have a hard day at work or a long day at work, right? What I used to do, me personally, I used to come home, take a quick shower, eat something, maybe put on the TV, watch a couple of shows, just unwind a little bit with the TV set, right? But now I don't do that anymore because I don't watch TV anymore because, I don't watch TV. So I'm on a computer. I watch YouTube, right? I shop and I watch YouTube, and my thing is Rolex and real estate. Those are the two things that I'm into. So I pretty much watch Rolex and real estate videos. So, I wasn't going to talk about this topic. I wasn't going to make a video about this, but I come home, so I get on the computer, and I'm looking at real estate videos on YouTube, and it just makes I'm just sick of it, man. I'm sick of the foolishness. You got these real estate gurus. They come online and they're selling you programs and hurry up and download. You get 60% off discount or whatever of some guy that never bought a piece of real estate in his entire life. Probably lived with his mother until he got famous on YouTube, and then he took his YouTube money and he bought his first house, or he bought his first rental property, or whatever like that. What does he know about collecting rent? What are any of these so-called real estate gurus on YouTube know about collecting rent? Like, really know about collecting rent? Going out, 7 o'clock at night, dark, New York City, dark, 7 o'clock at night in the winter, and your lobby's full of young, tough guys. The lobby where the building where you're going to collect your rent is full of tough guys, and you got in a brown paper bag, you got Alex Trebek with you in a brown paper bag, and you got to get through the young toughs in the lobby, and you got to go knock on every door to collect your rent. What did they know about that? Nothing, because they were never in real estate. You understand? They made their money selling you these programs on the internet, programs on YouTube. Like, everybody's getting rich off of selling you episodes and programs and all this off of YouTube. Then they taking that YouTube money and they might buy an investment house, few units, and now they don't have to be in the hood like we all started out. Real estate investors started out in rougher neighborhoods, right? And you had to, boots on the ground, go out there and collect the rent yourself. These guys never collected no rent. Now, so they made their money on YouTube. They made their money selling programs. They made their money, download this, download that, these fools on YouTube know nothing about real estate, giving you wrong advice and selling it to you. And now they made the money on YouTube, and they'll go and they'll buy a rental property in a good neighborhood where the tenants have good jobs. And nowadays they'll just Zelle you the rent. They'll Zelle pay you the rent. You never even have to leave your house. It's crazy. So, I'm just disgusted with tonight's video is going to be about the dark side of real estate, which they wouldn't know anything about because they've never experienced the dark side of real estate. They don't know anything about real estate. I mean, this might be an episode, a segment. I mean, a segment of the show where we just have a few different episodes of the dark side of real estate, because real estate is not passive income like these gurus will want you to think, right? Real estate is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's hands-on. It's boots on the ground. Anybody that's a real estate investor can attest to that. It's a lot of work. Nowadays you get lucky. You might be able to partner with a company. Companies like myself, my company, partner with myself, guys that the income will be passive for you because we will do all the work and we split the money. You're lucky if you can get subscribed to something like that where the income to you will be passive, but somebody's doing the work. Don't never confuse real estate with passive income. It's not passive. Somebody has to do the work, whether it's you or whether it's your partner or the company you partner with. Somebody's doing the work. All right. So that being said, the dark side of real estate. All right. So I invest in New York, and now we're investing in Florida, right? But we started out in New York City. That's where we got our feet wet. Real estate investing, right? So we're still heavy in New York City. As a matter of fact, we just had a closing on the 26th. So for New York City. So anyway, those of you that live in New York know that. Give me a second. Let me just shut this down. Know that we just had a big snowstorm, right? We just had a big snowstorm. So a lot of the buildings in New York City, even multifamilies or bigger buildings, are very old, right? Even some buildings are like 1905, 1906, and like that. So a lot of the buildings are very old. So the plumbing is very old. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of mentality, right? So if you never have a sewer problem, you never have a backup problem, you never had a busted pipe or whatever, you don't fix it until you get there, right? So that's just how it is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So anyway, a couple of years back, now this might be 3 years back, one of my multifamilies, we had a bad snowstorm. I forget what year it was. 3-4 years back, maybe 3 years. We had a really bad snowstorm in New York City, and one of my multifamilies, the water pipe, because the building I think was built in like 1925 or something like that. The water pipe, which brings water into the building, the cutoff valve was not on the side of the property. It was under the sidewalk and, by the manhole cover or whatever, over there under the street, in the street, right? So, and some people, wow, that you're going to see a lot of buildings in New York, especially a lot of commercial buildings in New York City. I don't mean commercial retail. I mean commercial with multifamily apartments. So that's the case with a lot of older buildings. So yeah, don't get surprised when you hear that. So what had happened was we had a really bad snowstorm, and the pipes on the side of the city froze. Okay. On the side of the city froze. So what happened? So there's no water coming into the building. So all the tenants, it just froze. It froze. So my pipe coming into the house froze. No water in the building. So all the tenants, they have no water. So they start calling. So they can't use the bathroom. They can't run the sink in the kitchen. So of course they're going to start calling and say, hey, so this was a new experience to me. I've been a real estate investor for just shy of 20 years, but this was a new experience to me. So they call me up. Well, they didn't call me, but I get the phone call that so-and-so building is frozen. I'm like, what does that even mean? Yeah, the water pipes are frozen, and it's not on the building side, it's on the city side. So the tenants have no water. The tenants said the next call after the call to us was to 311. So what are you going to do? So I'm like, oh man, what are we going to do? We call up the city anonymously because I don't want to bring unnecessary heat upon myself. We call up the city, and they, in no uncertain terms, said providing water to the tenants is your responsibility. So, yeah, anyway, so we didn't know what to do. Yeah. Let me just say that fortunately for us, Cookie had insisted pretty much, suggested / assisted that we get this insurance on all of our properties, which protects the outside of the pipes from the city's connection into your building. Now, you could say, oh no, like let's say you have a smaller property. Let's say you have like 4 units, 3 or 4 units, 2 units. And you say, oh, no, my homeowner's insurance, I live in the property, whatever. My homeowner's insurance will cover that. No, they don't cover it. You see, that's what you don't understand. They don't cover it. They will not cover from the city, from the street to the building. They cover from the building onward. That's fine. You get a flood in your basement, your homeowners is going to cover it, right? But they're not going to cover from the street to the building. You follow? So a lot of people don't understand that, and your homeowner's insurance is vague, super vague about that. And especially if you got like a multi-level, multi-unit place, the insurance booklet is so thick, no one's going to read through that. So you don't even know, you don't even understand that you're not covered. So anyway, if it was up to me, I would have never had any of these insurances. And luckily, Cookie was smarter than me, and she insisted that we put them on all the, on all the properties in New York City. So, and we'll get back to that. So anyway, we had this insurance. I don't know what to do. I called them up. They send a plumber out. So wait a minute. Before that, the tenants are killing us with the phone calls. They start calling 311. They start doing this. They start doing that. They do everything else. And, so they're killing us with the phone calls. 311 is now calling, and they're sending inspectors and all this. The inspector comes out, and I'm like, I'm at the property. I'm like, what do you want me to do? The water is frozen from the city side here. Why are you coming to give me a violation if it's the city's fault? Oh, you're responsible to provide water to your tenants. And they're talking about calling, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, all these things, like just to put multiple fines on you, on the building, on whatever, just to stack you up with tickets, right? So anyway, so we end up calling the insurance company, the separate insurance that you add on the pipes. So they send the plumber out. The plumber goes, he does his little thing, blah, 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 he does his little inspections. He says, okay, I have to call back the insurance company, and your pipes there's one busted. There's one going into, from the sewer into the actual basement of the building. In New York City, buildings aren't built flat. They're built on a basement, and then they go up, right? Whether you're 5 floors, 6 floors, whatever. They're built with a basement, then they go up. So he said, so your pipe going into your building is busted. So once the water comes back on, that's going to, flood your basement, maybe even flood your lobby and your first floor. So we have to take care of that. Can you hear me? We have to take care of that ASAP. And also, the pipe under your sidewalk, the pipe under your sidewalk that goes all the way out into the street and connects to the city's hookup is also busted. So what we have to do is we have to repair your pipe going into the building, and then we have to dig up your sidewalk, most of your sidewalk, dig up your sidewalk and repair that pipe. If it's too small, because if it's never been done before, they use a bigger size now. I don't know the inches or whatever, but they'll use a bigger size pipe, and then we'll have to replace it and put your sidewalk back down. So, and I'm like, wow. And the plumber actually tells me, well, he says he's a master plumber, right? He's an older guy. I'm pretty sure he's a master plumber. He's been around for ages. The plumber tells me, you're lucky you have this insurance. I'm like, yeah, well, how much does a job like this cost? He goes, first of all, there's not a lot of plumbers that can do it, because you have to be a master plumber, because you got to pull this permit, whatever. There was a lot he said, and I was, wow, and you have to be approved from the city, whatever. I think you have to be a master plumber to do that kind of work. Anyway, so then you have to have like some special keys to get on with the city, to open the city's water or shut the city's water or whatever. I don't know, something like that. So anyway, it's kind of like Con Edison. Like you have to, when you're dealing with Con Edison here in New York City, and you have to remove the meters, the electric meters, a master electrician has the key to that, and he can open them. A regular electrician doesn't have that key. Has to be a master electrician. So anyway, and I'm like, wow, okay, so how much would a job like this cost if I didn't have this insurance? He was like, okay, I'll give you a couple of different prices for a small, like let's say you got a residential building of about 4 units. A job like this, total all in, will be about $25,000 to $30,000. I was like, so you can just imagine. I was like, wow. So, and I said, so is everything completely covered by the insurance? And he was like, yeah. And no copay, no nothing. They just cover it. So I'm like, fantastic. So they come 2 guys, they start, they get right into it, and it's freezing outside, but these guys are bundled up. They got on their Carhartt jackets. They do their thing. They really get into it. They dig up the sidewalk. They crack right up the sidewalk. The tenants come down and saying, so we don't have any water. We know, one of the tenant from the 4th floor kept coming down. She was like, we don't have any water. We don't have any water. And one of the guys told her, I think he was like a Russian guy or something. He was like, yeah, I have the water in my back pocket. You want me to give it to you now? Or what do you want me to do? It was crazy. So anyway, I know that is a huge problem. And thank God I had the insurance that covered it, right? So anyway, fast forward. A couple of nights ago, we had a real big storm in New York City. It was a bad snowstorm, freezing, all that, right? Lo and behold, it happens again. We get the call. I don't have no water. What happened to my water? You playing with my water? So it happens again. Not in that same particular building, but a multifamily I have across town. So they have no water. And I'm like, oh my God. And this place, now it's a weird time, dealing with issues, especially issues with your property right now. You have tenants. It's really a precarious, it's a weird time in New York City to be a landlord. Anyway, they call us. We have no water. What are you gonna do? So I'm like, oh man, you're kidding me. And so what I do, I have to go there, right? So I go there. As I'm driving over there, all kinds of things are in my head. I'm like, man, a little tip that somebody gave me a few years back when that had happened to me. You're supposed to, I don't know if this works or not. It's an old wives' tale. I don't know, but it was said to me. So you are supposed to, in the basement, like you have a sink in the basement, when you know a storm is coming or freezing weather is coming, you're supposed to open, some water in the sink and just let it flow a little bit. And supposedly that won't freeze. That won't allow the water to freeze. Okay, so I forgot to do that. You work in here, you work in another site, this and that. You just want to get home at the end of the night. So anyway, I didn't do it to no place at all. So luckily, it only just happened in the one place. These are older buildings, built like 1900s. These are not new buildings. So it happened there, frozen. Okay, great. I've been here before, so I know what it is. The tenants are up in arms, everybody screaming, blah, blah, blah. So I know what it is. I've been here before. So what do? I make 2 stops. I go to Costco and I go to the Home Depot. Well, this is after I confirm that there's no water coming in the building, right? Okay. So I go to Costco and I go to the Home Depot. All right. So what do? I buy, for each tenant, I buy 2 big things of water, the 2 big jugs from a Home Depot. They're like $6-7 if you have the jug, but I didn't have any jugs, so they're like $13-14 or whatever. So I buy each tenant 2 of those, and I get each tenant 2 things of bottled waters from Costco, right? And I take it to them, and I put them in front of each person's door. We put, this little setup, because I know what it is. I've been here before. So we get 2 jugs and 2 packs of waters. Each tenant gets one in front of the door. I took a little picture of one. Let me show you what it looks like. All right, so that's left in front of their door. So I'm there. I'm trying to inspect. Call my guy up. He runs right over. We get there, and now this is the middle of the night now, but so you gotta have a good team with you. I'm not by myself. I got a great team. But it's been a long time. For many years, I was all by myself. And then it was just me and Cookie, and just humping my rug. It was difficult, but as you go along, as you get older, as you get more experience, as you grow, as your business grows, you start to accumulate a team, And if they're loyal to you, keep them around you, man, because loyalty is everything. And loyalty in this business, in this industry, is rare to find. And because everybody, there's a lot of, this is like a male dominated field. And I really don't want to go off topic too much, but anyway, this is like a really male dominated field. And the thing about males is they have a lot of ego, right? Men have a big, most men have big egos. As you get older, you start realizing that you're mortal, and less things begin to bother you. And you know how to deal easier with things, and a lot of stuff doesn't really stress you out. But you have other problems, like you start getting pains and aches, so. But as you get older, and I guess like your business gets, you get more successful. I mean, you start getting some means, your ego starts to, you still got an ego, but it starts to get a little smaller. You don't have to, argue about everything, So anyway, so, yeah. So if you find somebody loyal to you, you wanna keep them in your circle. And loyal meaning like they really want to see you win. Again, with men, that's hard to find because men always figure, it's been my experience, that men always seem like if they see you in a position, they think, oh, I could do that too. I get that, guys always think, oh, I can do what you do. I can be in your spot. So why aren't you? You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, I just say that to say this. If you start, your team, and you get loyal people on your team, and they stick with you and they're loyal, treat them right, man. Because because number one, they're hard to find. And if you lose them and someone else picks them up and they show some loyalty to that guy, if he knows what he's doing, man, he's going to treat them good. And, that's it. They're gone. You're never going to see them again. So anyway, so we check out the pipes going into the building. Because again, I've been here before. We checked the pipes going into the building. None of them are busted. So what I learned from the last experience is any pipes you have exposed going into your house, your building, your multifamily, whatever it is, you want to insulate it. You want to cover it, right? You want to wrap it so that when you get these winters, because winters in New York City are freaking brutal. New York City and the outer boroughs are brutal, are terrible, are the worst. So you want to always insulate them, right? So this particular building, of course, we had insulated them. So we're cutting off the insulation to check to see if that pipe is busted, the one outside of the building. Fortunately, that pipe is not busted, but okay, so we go upstairs. That's the basement. Then we got this kind of like the sub basement. Then we got a basement. We go up one other level, and where we have the valve, the shutoff valve, the water shutoff valve, because on this particular building we have a water shutoff valve on our side, so. That, and we wrapped it too. Any pipe that's exposed, you should wrap in New York City. So anyway, we unwrap it or whatever, and the valve is actually disconnected. And I'm like, oh wow, that's disconnected. Oh wow. And I'm like, yeah. And the guy tells me, well, we're glad it's frozen, because if not, you would have had a flood here. I'm like, oh man, thank God, right? So we get a piece from, a couple of different size pieces or whatever from Home Depot. It's called Shark Bite, I think was the name of the valve. Yeah, so anyway, we get that. We come back, he connects it, blah, 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 boom, boom, bam. He connects it, cool, and it puts on the valve. And you know, of course, there's no water because it's frozen from the city side. So we're just waiting. But fortunately, there's no busted pipes. So we don't have to call the city. I mean, we don't have to call the plumber because there's no busted pipes. We don't need the whole city thing again, right? So that's great. So we leave that night because, you know, I know the game. I know what it is. We come back the next day. The tenants hear me outside. They come out, they're yelling, they're complaining. So that water appeased them for one day. But I guess, you know, picking up that heavy gallon, trying to flush your toilet with it, I mean, nobody's going to like it, right? I know the game. I've been here before. So what's happening is the building right next door, his pipes are frozen. Because I don't know if the pipe from the city is one pipe, and then if it bifurcates into like different buildings or whatever it is. But anyway, so his is also frozen. So his tenants are complaining. His tenants are calling 311. His tenants are calling the Salvation Army. His tenants are calling the Red Cross. All kinds of stuff happening to this man. He don't know what's going on. He's dizzy. He's confused. He gets a plumber. They rent some heaters from the Home Depot. They put it downstairs, and you can hear him. But you know, that's not going to work. I've been here before. That's not going to work. I know what you need. What you need is it just needs a few days to thaw out, right? And if you're lucky, you'll get like a warm rain, and that'll help the ice melt. That'll help the ice melt. And then once it melts, the water will flow back into your building. But so they're heating an area on their side. It's not on your side. The only thing you can heat, maybe with a little blowtorch, is your pipe, you know, the copper pipe coming into your building. You could just heat it slowly, short, you know, just around. You don't want to heat it too much, because if it expands and cracks, now you got a huge problem. You understand? Let me show you what I mean. All right, yeah, so you dig out a little bit of the rock, you try to get to the pipe, you heat it just a little bit, so that way, if any ice is there, when the water melts from the street and starts gushing in, it doesn't take that ice and boom, and if you have an elbow, blow off your elbow, and now you got another problem. Now you got a flood. You know, in your basement, on your first floor, you got serious problems. So yeah, what they're doing next door, I know doesn't work, but hey, you know, that's what they're doing. So what I know is it's going to take a few days to 3-4 days to thaw out. So the only thing you have to be sure of is that all your busted pipes are repaired. And it's not, and if any pipes are busted on the city side, as long as your pipes are not busted, you're good. You follow? So, right. So we repair our side and we wait. But at this point, the tenants are, you know, all upon me, and they're like, you know, I can't live like this and that. I'm calling this one. I'm calling that one. So what do? I don't have to do this, but, you know, I like to provide a good service to our tenants. I like to take care of them, you know, because they take care of us. So what do? Cookie actually gets on the phone. She finds a local hotel. we get a week rate, and we put everybody in that same hotel for a week. We get a week rate because on these type of hotels, you by the week is actually cheaper than by day, like, which is super cool because I'm used to, you go to a hotel and it is what it is every single day, but these kind of hotels, you can get like a weekly rate. So we tell everybody, listen, you're gonna stay at this hotel. Just give me a couple of days. We're gonna figure out, but we'll let you know when we come back. I don't tell them we got them for a week because when we tell them they can come back, they might want to just hang out in the hotel. So I'm figuring if it's 2-3 days, maybe I can get a refund for the extra days, extra 2 days or whatever. So anyway, we put everybody in a hotel. I didn't have to do that. Like the next door guy didn't do that. All his tenants are in because he's there. He's all confused. He don't know what's going on. His eyes are watery. The tenants are screaming in his face. And, he didn't do what I did. He just got a plumber and they got these 2 big heaters and it seems like they're going to melt his house, But he didn't do that. But I felt like, you know what? Let me move these people out just because I know what it is. I know they're not going to fix that overnight. It needs a few days to thaw out. That's what it needs. As long as you don't have any busted pipes, you need to thaw it out. That's it. There's nothing you can do. The plumber can say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna run steam. We're gonna do whatever." It needs to thaw out. So we send them to the hotel. He heats up a little bit on my side, and then you just wait, man. You wait because that's all you can do. So I leave. The next day, I get a phone call from the super from the next building. I get a phone call from the super from the next building, the one that's next to ours. He's like, "Yo, Prophet." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, you got a flood in your basement. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you got a flood in your basement. That's why I was telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to get, my plumber buddies, and they got to go over there with the heaters and all." I'm like, "Oh, man. Damn." And, I've been here before, so I know the water gushing out. I know what it is. So I'm like, damn, I got to get up. It was early in the morning. I got to drive over there. And in my mind, I'm thinking all kinds of things. Here's a kicker. Here's a funny part of the story. So in my mind, I'm thinking all kinds of things. I'm like, damn, this and that. What do I do? This and that. Should we call the insurance? What do I do? They say, it's on their side or whatever. So I have Cookie call the insurance people. They're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, give me the address." So we give the address, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but your policy on this particular property has been canceled." She's like, "What? Your policy has been canceled on this particular?" She's like, "Why?" So apparently, this was unbeknownst to me, but apparently, don't let this happen to you people, but apparently, so what happens is, how do you pay for this insurance? And it's pennies. It's pennies. It's really dangerous not to have it. But anyway, this is what happened to me. I'm like the world's greatest procrastinator anyway. So apparently, so what happens is they bill it to your water bill, and the water bill, the city sends you. So you don't get this insurance on your own. The city pays for it, and they bill you. It's connected to your water bill or whatever. For each property. So if you are backed up on that particular property on your water bill, they'll cancel your insurance. I think if you get over like, I don't know, 20 grand or something, they cancel that insurance. So in the city, they won't, I don't believe they'll turn off your water, but they can turn off your insurance. So, and I'm like, so once I get the news, I'm like, oh my God, please don't let it be, so I'm praying at this point, because I know what this costs. This is going to be, if it's anything like the last thing, this is like a $40,000 job, right? And it has to be done immediately. So the last thing you want is the city to come out and they say your building is, they declare your building, with the box, they say your building has to be vacated or whatever, and forget it. Anyway, so, so as I'm driving over there, all types of things are hitting in my mind. I'm like, wow, if I got a flood, what can I do? I'm just praying that it's on the side. Like I'm praying that the water kicked on, because I'm praying for water. So now that we got water, be careful what you ask for, right? So I was praying that we got water. So now that we got water, I'm praying that the flood is, from my pipe, but where we put the valve, I'm praying that it's on this side of the valve, like, because it has an elbow. So I'm praying that it kicked off that elbow, like I was saying, like the ice gets to the elbow and it kicks it off. So I'm praying that it kicked off the elbow and that pipe, got disconnected, fell or whatever, and the water's gushing from there. So if that's the case, I can come and turn off the valve from the building to the street, and that's it. There's no more water. So we can get another elbow, we can connect it, and we're good to go. And we just mop up the mess, right? But so all kinds of things are heading in my head. I'm like, oh man, if I'm getting a flood, let it be on the after the valve, right? And then I'm like, damn, if it's before the valve, what can I do? What can I do? And I'm thinking in my head, man, I gotta put the valve back on, and maybe I can get like a vice grip and squeeze it on there till I figure something out. I don't know. So this kind of, or I had a guy once. This was years ago. When I had a big flood in a multifamily house in the Bronx. Actually, this was a 4-family house. I had a big flood. And what he did, he came over from a busted pipe. Actually, it was the same pipe from outside, the water pipe. He came over with a garbage bag. He was like the super from like the apartment building down the street. So he came over with a heavy duty garbage bag, and he like wrapped it around the pipe because the water was gushing out, whatever. And funny thing, like I was there, I didn't know what to do. And it was an actual tenant walking up the block, a tenant that we had actually evicted. And I'm standing there with my shoes and my slacks, and they're soaked, and I'm soaked, and I'm standing there, and actually a tenant walked by, a tenant that I had actually evicted at that time. She had like, moved in, her mom moved in, a boyfriend, because it's a long story. That's a whole nother video. There's a little room on the side. So she had a husband, but she moved on a boyfriend to put him actually on the outside room because it was disconnected from the whole. That's a whole nother story. So the fights there and the cops and everything, and she stopped paying rent for a year and a half. So we ended up evicting her. So, and she actually moved down the block, but so as all this flooding was going on, she was walking up the block, and she looks at me there, and I'm soaked, and I'm looking up, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, and she looks down because I'm one level, two levels down at that point, and she like, and they talking about it like I guess the neighbors or whatever talking, and I guess somebody talks to her. And she's like, oh, they got a flood there in your old building. They got a flood there. And she looks over. She's like, God don't like ugly. And she keeps walking like it was funny. Like this this catastrophe was happening to me. and she found it funny, like I did something to her. But anyway, yeah, so while I'm heading there, I'm like, all this stuff is going in my head, and like, my God, I don't got the insurance there, so anyway, just to talk about the insurance real quick, if you are a property owner in New York City, get yourself this insurance that I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say their name because I don't know what's the legalities of that, but it's from the water company. It's from New York City. You call them, you say, oh, I want that water insurance. They'll send you out a packet and they'll hook you up, man. It's pennies. It's pennies. And this could save you anywhere, from a $25,000 to $50,000, $60,000 problem that you would have to write a check for immediately if something like this happens to you. So get that insurance. It's from the city. It's not the city. It's a third-party company that provides this to the city, but it's from the city. They're approved from the city. Get that insurance, and don't let your water bill get too high, because you pay it every month. You pay it every quarter. You pay the insurance every quarter with your water bill. But if you reach a certain number, I don't know what exact number is. I guess the size of your property, it might be less or more. I don't know, but don't let them kick you off of that insurance, because then they won't let you back on until you pay off the bill completely. You can't get on a payment plan and then get back on the insurance. You have to pay off the bill completely to have the insurance. And then they're not going to retro anything, and they restart you 30 days from when you're back on. So if you think you got a problem and you say, oh, let me just pay it and get back on the insurance, and you're going to outsmart them, that's not going to happen. So don't let them just get the insurance, number one. And actually, this is the actual insurance people. Get the insurance and don't let them disconnect you. I'll look into it, or a couple people, if you want to DM me or whatever, or leave a comment below. And if you want to contact me and send me an email, I'll tell you who the name of the insurance people are if you're an investor here in New York City. But it's pretty simple, man. You call the you call up the water department, and they only deal with one insurance company, so that's the only one. So as you can imagine, all these things are going in my mind. What am I going to do? How am I going to finesse this? How really am I going to get through this? So anyway, so I park down the block, and I'm walking up the block because I don't want to just park in front and jump out and jump into the problem. I want to, warm up and size up the problem. So I walk up the block, and I'm passing these houses, and I come to my building, and I don't hear anything. What? And there's no commotion. There's nothing going on. I'm like, what the hell? So I run inside. I run down. I don't got no flood in the basement. I don't got no flood in the lobby. I don't got no flood on the first floor. I'm like, what's going on? Run outside, look at my pipe. It's not me. I'm like, oh my God, it's not me. I'm looking at where we got the shark bite, and my guy wrapped it around so it wouldn't freeze. I'm checking, I'm touching, I'm seeing if it has water. My guy's on his way, by the way. I called him. He's on his way. He's in a cab. He's heading toward me. Loyalty. Loyalty in this industry is everything. So he's heading to me. I don't even have a drip of water. So I'm like, what? It wasn't me. But remember, I got the phone call. Your basement is flooding. Your basement is flooding. I'm like, what? So I give the guy a call, the guy from next door, the super that called me. I'm like, look, what you mean my basement is flooding? I don't have any water here. What's going on? I don't have nothing. He was like, oh, my plumber's called me. I'm not there. I'm actually at the hospital. I'm like, God. But my plumbers called me that they getting water in the building from your place. And I was like, it's not from me. And he was like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. Okay, I'm heading over there. So I'm like, what the hell? So I get out, I walk out of my building, and I walk down, look over to the next door building. And I see a guy come out, like one of the plumbers. He's all wet. And I'm like, oh, he's walking down the block. So I'm like, oh man, okay, so they're having water problems over there. I don't hear the heaters on anymore. So I walk down the block, and to the next It's like a house now. Now this is a house. I think it's like a 3-family house or whatever. It's like pink, and I don't even have to look over. I hear. It sounds like the ocean. I'm like, oh God, I know what that sounds like, because I've been there before. So he has a busted pipe. That house is flooding. Some of the remnants of it is coming over to the next guy because he's kind of close, and that's where the flooding is. So, I mean, I don't wish that on any homeowner, real estate investor, anybody, because I know what that is. So, hopefully he has that insurance. But nobody was out there. Nobody was on top of this. So hopefully they got that rectified. Yeah. So that was the day before yesterday, and no, that was yesterday. I'm sorry. And today, I come home, just relaxing, whatever. We get a call. My Cookie gets a call. Actually, one of the tenants from that particular building that didn't want to leave, refused to leave, said she was fine with the water. There was only one that didn't want to leave, but she's kind of a homebody, kind of a hoarder. Like, anyway, so she said, "We have water, we have water," and I heard that from Cookie because she has Cookie's cell phone number. She's been with us a long time. Yeah. So anyway. So I'm like, wow. And Cookie's like, great, great, great. And I'm like, wow, we have water. We have water. It's great. And that was late at night. That was, we had finished work and we had just come from a restaurant. I don't know. It had to be like at 10:30, 11 o'clock. It was a long day for me. So for us, and we had to pick up the guys. The guys were at her sister's house. So the guys, I mean, you know, King, Messi, Lumito, Cheetos. So yeah, she was screaming, "We have water, we have water." I was like, oh man, that's great. So part of being a landlord, a real estate investor, you know, I was like, wow, fantastic. So I didn't want to call my guy at this time. So by now it was late. So I took Cookie and the guys home, and you know, I went upstairs. I made myself actually a hot tea. I put it in my to-go cup, and I got back in my car, and I headed back over there. Middle of the night, dark, not the greatest neighborhood, and you know, New York City with all this going on. And I went to check it out myself, because what happened was this time I left in all the apartments, actually, except the one lady that didn't leave. I left the sink in the bathroom. Some bathrooms, some kitchens. I left the cold water on all the apartments. So I wanted to get there. I wanted to make sure that if we were water flowing, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't gushing over, and that where we put the shark bite, where our valve was, didn't kick it off, and there was water just beginning to go down to the basement. And this lady is on the second floor, so she wouldn't have known. So, you know, I have to go back over there. I don't want to, but I have to. Could I call my guy 1 o'clock in the night? You know, sure, but you know, that's really my responsibility, right? So I go there. Thank you, you know, thank God. Our valve is still holding. It's not even wet, and it's just water, you know, water coming out of the faucets in the sinks. So turn all of them off. I leave it on, you know, just so a nice little stream in just 2 apartments. Nice little stream in just 2 apartments, and that's it, man. You know, we're back, and that was today. So we're back. We have water. The heat is on, and it's all good. So tomorrow we're going to contact the tenants and tell them, you're free to come back. You're free to come back and come back home. It's all good. So that actually story had a happy ending for us. But again, I've been here before. I have this experience. I'm not some guru on the internet selling you, foolishness, malarkey. They're in a world where, they sold you YouTube programs, they sold you signups, they sold you seminars, they sold you phone calls and all this crap. And the money they made off of you, they went and bought their first, if they even have any properties. You know what you do before you want to get into real estate, you want passive income and all that. Before you send them any money for their program, you tell them, post your Schedule E. Let me see your Schedule E. Before I send you one dime of my hard-earned money, post your Schedule E and watch them hang up the phone on you immediately. Or if they do, or if they can post their Schedule E, you want to know what year, how long have you actually been a real estate investor? What year was your first multifamily real estate? After you've been on YouTube for 5, 6, 7 years. Okay, and you got what you got, a 3-family in a nice 2-family in a nice neighborhood where people sell you the rent. Come on, man, you make me sick. These these people, a guy that looks like a 16-year-old boy is gonna go collect rent. He's gonna push his way through a lobby full of young guys, smoking in your lobby, and you got Alex Trebek with you. You gonna do that? Nah, come on. People are Zelle paying you your rent, so stop it. You're not a real landlord. You're not a real estate investor. You're not really in this business. So stop it. And anytime I can tell anybody out there that crap on the internet is make-believe, I'm going to tell them. So real estate is not passive income. You understand? It might be passive for you if you get connected with somebody that will do the heavy lifting, because in real estate there's a lot of heavy lifting, especially when you're starting out and you don't really have your team together. So yeah, that is the dark side of real estate. One episode of the dark side of real estate. This might be a whole new segment on the channel. There's a lot of people hungry for real estate knowledge. I get a lot of emails about, hey, Prophet, talk about real estate. Most of my emails are, hey, Prophet, talk about Rolex. I am the Rolex king on Sunday nights. So if you are into Rolex, like I am, we love Rolex over here. Check us out every Sunday night. We're talking Rolex, right? All right. That is just episode 1 of the dark side of real estate. Real estate advice from a real estate investor, owner, operator, landlord, whatever you call it. So I'm your host, Richard Prophet. This is the Prophet Rolex and Real Estate channel. I am the last dragon of the watch community, and thanks for watching. Join us Sunday night if you're into Rolex. All right. Cheers, family.